Right, hi there, welcome to another video on the channel, Retro Bear channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you very much for popping back and seeing what it's all about. If you are a new subscriber, thank you very much indeed for clicking on it and finding out what it's all about. Yes, so it's been an interesting old week again. I've had a week off work, not done a fat lot, I've got to be honest with you. But sometimes those are the best weeks that you can have. And very little time for going out and sort of going some game hunting, but I did manage to get out once, which was on the Tuesday the 23rd, which is an unusual day to go out, but it was the first date available. Saturday the 20th, Saturday's always my day for going out and doing game hunting. I was busy. Then we had Easter Sunday, Bank Holiday Monday, first available on Tuesday, which is what I did. And I didn't go out this past weekend either, because I decided to go out and see some of my mates for the first time in a few weeks, which is always nice to do. So rather than do the two things, I thought I'd just go and do the one thing. So this is a small collection, but I've got it all from one area. I say one area, one town, which is quite a decent size haul for it, I must be honest with you. I didn't think I'd do quite as well as that. And again, of all the games, apart from one you're going to see, they all cost under £1 or under, as we always try and do. We try and keep that going from there. See, also now it's got the old telly going in the background. For those of you just wondering what this is, you can't quite see it there. It is Street Fighter 4 on the 360. I'll just let it run for a bit. It might loop, it might sort of stop, and you'll sit there, and there we go. But I thought, well, it's nice to have a bit of visual, other than me going, here's a box, and here's another box, and here's the inside of the box, and the back of the box. Here's something else to keep your eye on for the moment. As always, something for everybody, with all the games and all the systems. But firstly, thank you very much indeed for coming back. If you have come back, always nice to see you. And if you have stumbled across us the first time, thank you very much for doing so. Please feel to check out all the other videos on the channel, and don't forget to do the liking, comment, subscribing, and ringing the bell stuff that other people do. In case you really want to come back again. It'd be great if you did. Really appreciate it. So, let's start then with Gamecube game. Yes, don't get many Gamecube games very often, because they are expensively expensive, if that is such a thing. Yeah, they just seem to be, even the rubbish games, like the sports titles, easily £152, and that probably sounds like a shockingly minor amount to a lot of people, but for me, you know, I try and keep it on a budget, and it's things like Tiger Woods games are sort of going up in price. I mean, I've got one, I think. No, I've got no Tiger Woods games, but even then they start about £1.50. But I did get a bit lucky with this one, because this was £1, and it is Minority Report, which also I own on the not the 360, the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2. More fascinating enough, there's a handful of games I actually own across those three systems of that generation. I'm trying to think of one on the top of my head. It's going to be really still, like something like FIFA 2004. I know that's one of them. Oh, there's some others. I thought about these the other day, and I thought, yeah, I remember which ones they are. I must make sure to include that this time. But I've got three different versions, and they're all pretty much the same, just graphically different, or sonically different, or whatever. Anyway, there's the inside of the case there. It comes with a manual. This came out of our old friend CEX, and didn't mean that. Well, no, I didn't. Not too bad this time around getting older stuff from there, but there's the back of the box as well. Not a fan of the film in the slightest, but yeah, it was £1. What can you say? What can you say? It's £1. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll notice that I made a comment about bending down and picking things up. I've sort of rectified that by 50% by having a table here out the way, which you can't see. But now I've not got nowhere to sort of put things back on when I pull them off again. So hopefully next time I'll have 100% sorted out. Yes, okay. Original Xbox, because it will never be called the OG Xbox on this channel, you have my word for it. And this is one of the first games that came out of a pawnbroker, which I tend to go into quite a bit. They've really sort of cut back on their games. They had loads, sort of going back 2 years ago. I got mentioned it, original Xbox from there for £3, about 18 months ago, because they couldn't test it properly, and all you need to do is just sort of tap the tray, and it opens, which is brilliant for £3, a backup Xbox. And I use that one now rather than my original Xbox. because I've chipped that one and I use it for emulation, so I put that to one side and just use this one, which is great. And they have games in there, but so they've really sort of scaled back on something. They still have the odd bits of mostly sort of Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One stuff now, and they don't have an awful lot of the older things. They have the old bits of retro. They still sell the old console. They've got Gamecubes in there, but they've got a lot of cartridges. They've got 2 Super Nintendo games in there. I think Donkey Kong Country and Mario All Stars. Possibly Super Mario World actually. No, because it's All Stars. I got that from somewhere else. And they've had them for, I'd say, 12 months, and they're still at the same price, which is about, I think it's 15 quid each, which I still think is quite a bit too much to pay. Also, looping round. That's good. Crap. Great. That's good. That's good. I picked the right games. I picked another game. It just sort of stopped after a bit and nothing happened. So I'm glad that's looping round. Yes, fantastic. I hate Street Fighter. Anyway, back from the tangent. And they do have, these games have been sitting there for months, and months and months, and they haven't lowered the price or anything like that. So they'll still be sitting there. But they did some other cheap Mega Drive loose cartridges, which I sort of passed on this time because I wanted to sort of see what else was available. And then by the time I sort of went elsewhere, I sort of spent up after that. But he got some original Xbox stuff in there, which was great. What I don't like is he's using pen to write the prices on top there. You can see that's a quid. I'm just giving away that one. It's a Constantine, which is the game based on the film with Keanu Reeves. I've already got this on the PlayStation 2, and I paid a quid for that, which I think is about the going rate for it. I don't know if that game's any good. The film's terrible, but then again, when has a film ever been any good they've made a game out of? Never. Well, no, not never. There's been some good ones, haven't there? But more often than not, it's going to be a load of rubbish. And there's quite a few based on films in here, actually, just talking about it. So, yeah, we'll get to those. I think there's at least 6 or 7 of those, possibly 8. 8 this week. That's a video in itself, isn't it? Now, here's a game I thought I had, but I hadn't. But I have now. And this is Finding Nemo on the original Xbox, which I picked up for 50p in CX. Sorry, I've done it again. And I thought I got this, but no, I did own it on the PlayStation 2, but I hadn't got it on the original Xbox. Really nice looking copy. I don't think the manual's in absolutely immaculate condition. What was the disc like? I think the disc was pretty good. Because some of these discs this week have been exceptionally good quality. Yeah, oh no, that's a bit scratched, that. Actually, say a bit scratched. It's not that bad at all, but yeah, that was 50p. I like Finding Nemo, but I sort of slept through Finding Dory. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing or not. People probably tell me whether Finding Dory is a good film or not. But yeah, it's got Barry Humphries on the front there, which is the shark, and then you've got Albert Brooks and Ellen DeGeneres down the bottom there. That's probably spoilt it for a few people. Got no idea what I'm talking about, but loads of people do the voices. And then another film tie-in. This is one of the more bizarre ones. You know, we talk about obscure film license before. Someone's taken a film license from a film that was made years ago and decided to, you know, sort of make a game out of it. Here's a really weird one for you. This is The Thing, which I also own on the PlayStation 2. This guy I got for 50p because he's written 50p in the top corner. It's got the old manual with it and everything. This was a film that those of you who don't know came out, I think it was 1980 maybe, something like that. You'll probably tell me the back of the box if I could be bothered to look it up. No, there is the back of the box anyway, just so you can see. And I played this first of all on the PC, and I didn't get very far with it because it was a bit scary. Bit scary. Film's scary. I've seen a film. Film's really scary. There we go. Pull that sticker off the back. Now I've got that on there. But yeah, that was 50p. I've already got it, so that's another one that I haven't got before. But I did play on the PC. Like I said, didn't get very far with it. So those are 3 I got this week for original Xbox, and then I managed to pick up 3 Wii games as well this week, which is great because I've sort of been through now looking at the Wii games, and I seem to have sort of got to the point where I've got a lot of the cheap ones now. I'm going to have to start sort of delving a bit deeper into those. There's still some of the cheap ones I haven't got, but I've sort of hit a plateau now. Yes, we use the word plateau. Flatlined. Hit a point where I know sort of where am I going to hit the ceiling, the glass ceiling needs to be broken. I have to go through to the next level. So a lot of the games from here on in are going to cost more than £1. So it's really a case of what do I do? I start focusing on getting the Wii in, or do I start keeping going? Because there's an awful lot of cheap games I don't have for the PlayStation 2, for the Xbox, for the 360, for the PlayStation 3. It's one of those at the moment. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be sort of going on, but it's for me to sort of evaluate and work out what the best way forward is. In terms of where I am in collection sizes, I've got about 43% of Wii games that came out in the PAL region. PlayStation 2 I'm at 25%, original Xbox I'm about 25% as well. We'll have to see. But the important thing is space, and space is something I don't have a lot of. And after this lot, I am really going to be in trouble, because something is going to have to give. Not a decision I want to make. Not a decision I should make lightly either. So let's go on with the Wii games then, before I start losing people because I'm wondering what I'm talking about. And this is one of those 50p games that I'm just going to pick up because I haven't got, which is Def Jam Rap Star, which unsurprisingly is in immaculate condition. That disc is an abomination, actually. Just not the back of it, because the back of it looks like it's never actually been. The back of it is untouched. It's just that there is just nothing to it. You can see it there. There we go. There's just nothing to it. It's as if somebody just sort of printed that at home, and sort of like, you know, you buy these dodgy DVDs and whatever from dodgy places, and they put like a cover on it just to cover the disc over. They've got a printable cover on it. It looks like somebody just basically done that at home. And it's Konami, for goodness sake. Have a bit of pride in what you're trying to do, or did. I should go back in time and tell you to make sure things are a bit different. It's got a load of songs I've never heard of before, by a lot of people I've never heard of before, and it's probably a game I'm never going to play. It works with most console microphones, which is great to know. Moving swiftly on, this is the game I did know exist. I thought at the time I never heard this game before, and I did realise at some point that yes, I did know this game existed, because I think there's a version going around where it's in a double pack. And again, this is a pretty immaculate looking copy, apart from the fact this came from the pawnbroker, so he's written a quid at the top again. And this is the Crude's Prehistoric Party, which in the great sort of sense of the Wii is a multi-party game, which you'll be pleased to know there aren't many of those on the Wii at all. Very rarely come across those. This is based on a film, which I think I've seen once, or maybe I've seen half of, or a little bit at the end. I don't know. Don't remember it all that well, to be honest with you. But it was a quid, and I've seen it. I think this goes for about 3 or 4 quid usually. So I hadn't seen it before elsewhere outside of a CEX. So I'm going to stop doing that now. And yeah, so it's another one on the shelf. And then this one is actually an upgrade on the one I bought a long time ago, because our old friends decided that they'd buy in the wrong version. So when I bought this game, it was meant to be a special edition with a collector's part to it, but it wasn't. And I stumbled across this in a charity shop, and I paid £1.50 for it, which is a bit more than I used to. And this is a bit more than I used to do. This is Horrible Histories of Ruthless Romans, and the reason it's special is because it comes with a book. Yeah. See, books are things that we had back in the day, which had sort of words in it. And for the younger viewers, this is sort of like a portable version of the internet. Well, I say the internet's portable, isn't it? Anyway, but it's sort of like you can hold the internet in the palm of your hand and sort of read it. And this is what we used to call books. There used to be things called libraries. And when I bought this from CX ages ago, it was meant to have the book with it. I wasn't quite sure what it looked like. It's the first time I've actually seen this outside of there. And it's based on the popular children's television series, which is very popular with adults as well. I mean, seen any Horrible Histories, it's really quite funny. If they had stuff like that when I was a kid growing up, a lot of things would have been made much easier and explained much better if they had sort of like comedians and sort of comedy groups doing it. Again, it looks like it's barely been touched. The only sort of problem I've got with it is the charity shop I bought it in decided to stick some sellotape around the outside, so unfortunately there's a slight rip on the front of it, which really does annoy me. So I really wish they wouldn't do something like that. But I've been after that for some time, and it was nice to see it again. Nice to see it in the wild, and the opportunity to pick it up was there. So that was £1.50, but it does replace the single edition I've got, which I can now sort of move back into a charity shop and sort of give it back, and hopefully they'll set it on for the same thing. But yes, I was very happy to pick that one up, because I thought I'd missed my chance on that one. And it'll sit nicely alongside Grover. Hello to Roller X Core, if you're watching. Yes, you'll know what I'm on about. If you've seen his last video, I recommended the game to him called Sesame Street's Ready Set Grover, which was an Australian PAL release. And he took my advice and went and picked it up, which is really strange, because nobody takes my advice ever. And they should, if they take my advice, take the good games, don't pick those sort of things up. But he did, and he seemed to like it anyway. And that's still going on. I'm just about to see that. Yeah, good. Right, so Xbox 360, only 2 this week. And I did something very strange. I actually went out with a list this week. I don't usually make lists of games in shops that I go for. I just sort of like go, and then if I come across games in there, great. But I actually sort of went with a predetermined list. If I can't get anything anywhere else, I should go into CEX and I shall get these off the shelf. So these are the 2 I picked up this week, which are Alpha Protocol, which some of you may remember. This was a game which CEX screwed me over on, where they did one of their false printed covers on it, and did me out of 50p. So they've had another 50p off me for this one. But the good thing is I can now swap that one out in my collection. Apparently it's very good. It's an espionage RPG. I don't like RPGs, but I don't know, it looks quite good, this one. I've still not given it a proper go, but now got the proper version in there. Very happy with that one. And I also picked up for 50p as well, which was Red Faction Armageddon. I've got Red Faction Guerrilla on 360, so I've got quite a few. I've got Red Faction Guerrilla on PlayStation 3, and also Red Faction 2 on the PlayStation 2. Just looking up there because I can see it. So yeah, paid 50p for that as well. Nice to pick that one up. So those are the 2 games for the Xbox 360 this week. Nothing on PlayStation 3, because I didn't really find anything that sort of appealed to me, and nothing else anywhere else. And now I've got a great big pile of PlayStation 2, because as I said, PlayStation 2 at the moment is incredibly cheap. Some of the games are really sort of like, you can sort of walk into somewhere like that, or as I did, into somewhere completely different and pick up a bag of stuff for a few quid, which is great. And some of these actually are pretty good games. I'm just trying to work out how many of these actually came out of the one shop I went into, and how many of these I got from elsewhere. I can't remember. But none of these cost me any more than £1, I think. Probably safe to say. So what have we got first up? Bear in mind the quality is going to be variable. This is Action Man Atom, which stands for Alpha Teens on Motorcycles, which sounds like, I don't know, some sort of dodgy 70s film. Alpha Teens on Machines. Not motorcycles, Alpha Teens on Machines, which sounds even worse really. I wouldn't type that into Google anyway, so you're never quite sure what's going to come up. Hopefully not this game, because it's by our old friends at Blast, who were terrible at making games and just continue to churn them out. I'd never heard of this game, never seen it before, got no particular interest in it whatsoever, but it was 50p. What more can you say, apart from why? Moving swiftly on, another film licence which came to light was Blade 2, which is alright in itself. It's come with a broken case, just so I'll have to hold this here. There we go. And I'm a bit confused about this one, because if I remember Blade when it first came out, brilliant film, which we went to see in the cinema, and then this one came out and I think it was a bit more, what's the word, a bit darker and more violent, and then when the third one came out it was a bit more sort of comedic and a bit silly, possibly. I don't know, but that I think was 50p as well. I've not seen that one before, but this is Blade 2, which will just sit there. Then this one, I had a few opportunities a few months ago to pick up a box copy of this game on the Mega Drive for about £4, and I didn't because it didn't have the manual with it. That doesn't usually bother me, but I thought on this occasion, no, I'm going to spend £4 on it. I want a bloody manual for it. Yeah, and then by chance I was in exactly the same shop this past Tuesday, and lo and behold, they've got the updated version of PlayStation 2, which is Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. Echo the Dolphin was a really sort of original title when it first came out on the Mega Drive, going back in the day, and I've not seen this one before, and I think I got it for 75p, so it's not a hugely collectible, expensive game or anything like that, but I'd never seen it before. And then I read about it afterwards, and there was all sorts of things about dolphins coming out of the sea to attack humans, and I thought, this is bizarre. So I'll be interested to see how that one turns out. But yeah, that was 75. I've not seen that one before, but yeah, perhaps I should have got the original when I had the opportunity to pick it up. This one I was really happy to pick up because I was a big fan of the original games, and this is, I think I've even written £1 on the top of it, so how much I paid for it. Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which I think usually goes for about £4 or £5, something like that, and I got this for £1. If it's in the style of the old Gauntlet games, which is great, I think looking at the videos it's sort of like been modified to sort of do that, but when I first saw it I thought, oh, this looks terrible, and then I sort of watched a bit more of it, and it actually sort of captures the sound effects and the feel of the original games, and so if that's good for me, because being an old gamer, then it's what I'm sort of after. But there is another Gauntlet game as well, which I think came out for this one called Seven Swords or something like that, possibly, I can't quite remember. You can look it up because you do your research more than I do, and it's, yeah, it's Gauntlet. If it's Gauntlet at the heart of the game, it should work. If it's not, then it won't work and it will just get chucked over there, you see. Easy. Here's a really terrible game, because I know it's a terrible game because I've not seen a copy of it before. This is Heracles, which is a battle with the gods. There's two Heracles games, one called Chariot Racing as well. This is by Nobody's Friends Midas Software, which means it's going to be absolutely terrible. I've watched a few videos on it, and yes, it is absolutely terrible. But I hadn't seen it before in the wild, so I picked it up for 50p. I don't think it's worth any more than that. Not a particularly great copy either, I've got to be honest with you, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Probably the other good one this week to find, which I think, yeah, probably would be maybe sort of one of the better titles of the week, which is Justice League Heroes on the PlayStation 2. Which Sonny's very kindly left all the instructions of how to sort of advance to the next level and give me invincibility. But it looks like this is a really nice copy. No one, well, someone has played it because obviously they've written those things down on a post-it note. But this is, it looks like it's barely been used, and it's all about the DC Comics thing. I sort of, I'm not a big fan of DC, never have been. It's always paled into comparison to Marvel for me. That's just the reason to start a debate, isn't it? And then I sort of going through the superheroes, and there's ones I recognise like Batman, Superman, The Flash, The Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and then a magician, which I've never heard of before. What was her name? Zatanna. And also, it can't wait. Zatanna's there, and then there's another guy called John Jones, who was in the Supergirl TV series. I think if you've seen that, then you'll know what I'm talking about, called The Martian Manhunter. And that's where it starts getting a bit silly for me. But I don't know, it sort of looks a bit like Marvel, the X-Men game Rise of the Apocalypse, or X-Men Legends, or Marvel Ultimate Universe Alliance thing that was going around a few years ago. Looks a bit like that from what I've sort of seen of it. It's alright, but I picked it up for £1, which I don't think was too bad a price for it at all. I will give it a whirl at some point, but like I said, it's DC. I'm not going to get too excited about it the same way I would do if it was an Avengers game. A few more to go, you'll be pleased to know. This one, again, games I've never heard of this week. There's quite a few of those I've seen, never heard of this particular game. This one I thought, well, I better grab this one because it sounds to me like it's a bit of an oddity, and it might be sort of a bit collectible or something like that. And I'm afraid it isn't. Let me press this here. That's not made any difference whatsoever because my controller's turned itself off. So we've got Mark Echo's Getting Up. Now, it's not a game about getting up in the morning and going to work and doing stuff. It's about graffiti, which has got nothing to do with getting out of bed first thing in the morning. It's usually sort of in the middle of the night that stuff happens, if the name's Banksy. And I never heard this game before in the slightest. I paid 50p for it, which is about what it's worth, to be honest with you. But I've sort of going through the credits on the back here. Some fascinating credits, because Mark Echo is actually a person, which I thought he was just a character. Now he's actually a real person. But this game has got music featuring Sean Coombs, who's better known as Diddy or Puff Daddy or whatever he's called nowadays. And notable music by the notorious B.I.G. Of course, it's going to be in it, and a lot of people I've never heard of before. And then it's got Adam West. Now people start starring in the game. Adam West, you know, Batman, or the guy off the mayor off Family Guy. Brittany Murphy, Charlie Murphy, George Hamilton, he of the Permatan. What's he doing in a game like? What's George Hamilton doing in a graffiti game? I presume it's that George Hamilton. There could be another George Hamilton I don't know about. Rosario Dawson, who I think was in both. She was in fact all three: Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and Power Man. I can't call it Luke Cage, it's Power Man to me. And Iron Fist. I think she played the Nurse Claire in that programme. I think that's her. I could be wrong. And it's also got Puff Daddy in it, and Andy Dick, who's a comedian, I think, as well. So a lot of, you know, reasonable voice acting talent to go into that game. But I've never heard of it before. I've picked it up. It's worth no more than 50p. So if you do see it, don't pay any more for it than that, because that's not what it's worth really. But could be interesting. I don't think it's going to be sort of in the Jet Set Radio or Jet Set Future style tagging, but maybe a bit more extreme than that. I don't know. Just talking rubbish here now. Game I thought I had, which I hadn't got, which is Prince of Persia Warrior Within, but that does complete all the Prince of Persia games now for the PlayStation 2. I've got the Sands of Time and the Two Thrones. I've also been given 2 manuals with this one. So if anybody wants a manual, please let me know. I don't know why I've got 2 manuals with it. I didn't ask for 2 manuals. But, you know, you always get a bit of a Brucey bonus. Last week it was memory cards, this week it's manuals. Always been amazed by how good these games look. They were some of the best looking games on the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox when they first came out, and I don't think that's changed in the slightest. I still think they, to this day, look really, really good, and tremendously good fun to play. I know there's a 360 version of the 360 PlayStation 3, always brilliantly animated, even going back to the original games. If you think about the original games, how they looked on the systems at the time, there was a lot of great animation with it. So, yeah, definitely worth picking up on those games. Prince of Persia games, dirt cheap. You really need to have those in your collection. Whatever you're collecting for, there's going to be a Prince of Persia game for it, even if it's just the original one. More film tie-ins, but really bad one. This is the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Yeah, that was a long night in the shall we sit down and come up with a film title office at Universal Studios. I bought this. It's a driving. It's a great drive. I remember watching a video ages ago on YouTube about this, and for some reason I got in my head that this was quite a collectible game. It's not. I paid 50p for it, which is about what it's worth. In fact, I say it's more than it's worth. It really is a horrible game. It's made by somebody I've never even heard of called Toka, who I think must have paid nothing for these licenses. Again, it's on a compact disc rather than, you can just see the compact disc logo there, rather than DVD video logo, which means it's generally sort of low-grade rubbish. And 24 original fun racetracks, 9 madcap Stone Age vehicles, and a UFO. Yeah, it's worth noting that none of the stars of the first film came back for the sequel. But there were 3 sequels, and there are 2 sequels to this as well. I'm pretty sure there's a 3rd Flintstones film. I should hope not, because 1 was bad enough. 2 to go. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings, which completes my Lord of the Rings trilogy for the PlayStation 2. Someone's got a nice marker pen writing on there, as you can see. Why do they do things like that? I really don't know. But these games are dirt cheap now. This was 50p, I think. Always worth picking up if you like those sort of things. I don't, but I've got the other two, so why not complete the set? But I've got the complete set now for the Xbox and the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2 for the films. I've also got the Third Age game for the, I'm just looking at down there, Third Age for the original Xbox. I think I've got one of these. No, I haven't. No, I thought I had one of these on the Gamecube, but I haven't. There we go. And then final game this week is another film tie-in. This is actually based around... well, it says X-Men 2. Which is in cinemas May the 1st, 2003. But I'm not sure whether it's actually based on the film or not. I'm probably guessing not. This is Wolverine's Revenge, which I didn't have. But I do have it on the original Xbox. Then at the PlayStation, so we've got the original Xbox. They've always been pretty good value, those X-Men games. It'd be interesting to see how that turns out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and small animals, completes this week's list of pickups, which I hope some of you have found of interest. As usual, there is something there for everybody. Not everybody's going to be taken by these games, which I completely understand, because it's not Mario or it's Sonic or it hasn't sort of been super mega rare. But then again, if you're watching this channel, not for the first time, you'll know that I don't do stuff like that. And indeed, hopefully, as I've been having discussions with some YouTubers about sort of the obscure, weird titles such as Mark Echo's Getting Up and Action Man and Horrible Histories, those are the sort of weird sort of games and sort of obscure titles that some people like to see, which is great. So if you do like that sort of stuff, then there'll be plenty of that here. Don't worry about it, and go back and watch some of the videos, because there's plenty of obscure stuff lying around here anyway. Yeah, I think I'm done. That's a nice easy one this week. Anyway, right, thank you very much indeed for watching this week. Do hope you've enjoyed it. Do sort of do the old subscription, comment, like, and tick that bell for further notifications when some more tat has been picked up, and I'll be showing you my wares online. In the meantime, do take care of yourself. Hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye.